with Baker, man, I'm starting to feel bad for him. I'm feeling bad for him because I've been there as a player when you play hurt and you don't get the thing out of it that you imagine you're supposed to get out of it.
Yep.
Right? And you've been there.
Yep.
How are you able to look at the Baker situation? Does it hit close to home at all? I mean, obviously you handle yourself differently in sound bites.
Correct.
But as a football player, was there any part of you watching him this year like, damn, don't do it, dude?
Yeah, I mean, any guy that I see playing now, when we know they're hurt, it's documented that they're hurt, I always just err on the side of trying to tell them, don't do it, right? It's not a good thing. What you put on tape when you're hurt, they don't care, right? They don't watch that tape and say, oh, he was hurt here. No. It's just whatever the tape is and whatever you put out there, that's who you are. So when I played hurt in 2012 for Washington, I did that because I was trying to be there for my teammates. Mm-hmm. And you know how that is. Like, you build this brotherhood and this camaraderie, and you're like, I can run through a wall for these guys. Yeah. I don't care if my arm's falling off. I'm going to give them everything I have. And for me back then, it was morphed and turned into a negative thing. And I'm just like, you feel like you watch Phillip Rivers when he played with the torn ACL, and you see how that was received. You're like, okay, well, I'm a gladiator too. I can do this as well. So I'm going out there playing with no LCL, and ended up tearing my ACL. And I did that. And I'm like, I just gave my whole body for the team. And you felt like you didn't get that reciprocated, at least in the narratives that were talked about. So when I watched Baker, I'm like, man, this guy the year before led them to the playoffs and won a playoff game. So now he's coming out there and he's playing, for his team, for his guys. And the first thing you do in the offseason is just throw him to the side. And I think that's a big reason why Kyler does not want to play without a new deal. He's taken the Cardinals to the playoffs the past couple of years. Obviously, they haven't had success, but they went there. And now he's like, well, I need to get paid because I'm not going to get Baker.
Yeah.
And as you look at this Baker situation, the Browns created a mess for themselves, man. Not only did they give $230 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson, they blew up their whole organization for a guy with massive off the field issues.
Right.
And no matter how you really feel about Baker and like you said, the sound bites that have come out and what he said, he was never a distraction truly on the field.
Right.
So I just think I do feel bad for Baker because of that whole situation. And I don't think it was necessarily needed. I think the Browns could have waited. Other teams could have waited for the Deshaun Watson thing to develop and show what it was going to be before they make this move. And now Baker's, obviously his career in Cleveland is just ruined. It's over.
Well, here, I got a loophole for you. In some maybe more likely scenario than you think, Deshaun doesn't play football this year.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Baker's still under contract. You can't get a trade done. You decide not to cut him. I'm not a GM, so I don't know what the money situation is there. But, like, let's say you're Baker and they need you to spot start or start a stretch of 6 to 8 games. 8 games, I think, sounds about right. I mean, not 16, 17 games sounds right to me, but 8 games is what's been floated. Let's say Baker has to start 8 games for Cleveland. If you're Baker, are you seeing the value in that? Because I would, even though I'd hate every minute of it, you also have a chance to re-ingratiate yourself to a city that loved you for a second, and then you actually get your best opportunity to audition for another starting job, because I don't know that he's going to have a great opportunity in the future. What would you do if you were Baker and you had to run out of the tunnel again in a Cleveland uniform?
Yeah, I've said this earlier in the offseason. I think Baker, he should be there right now. I know that he was excused and the team honestly wants nothing to do with him. So I don't know if that's even an option for him to be there. But I think it's more likely that Baker plays for the Browns again if Deshaun doesn't play at all this year.
Right.
I think that's more likely. If it's a 6 to 8 game time frame, they'll just play Jacoby Brissett and move on from Baker. And whether they win those games or lose those games, they're honestly not going to care. They're just going to try to be competitive, lean on their defense in the running game until Deshaun comes back.
Right.
But if Deshaun's suspended for the entire season, I mean, if I'm Baker Mayfield, I'm there. I'm in that building, and I'm going to go out and use this year to prove to them why they should have never went and got Deshaun Watson. Now, that's my mindset. I'm a competitor. I don't know what Baker's thinking. I know that he was a walk-on when he first went to college, so I know he's got that competitive fire to him. You see him, planting flags in the middle of the field in college and doing that whole deal. So I think he should be open to that possibility. if Deshaun Watson isn't going to play at all this year, because Baker knows that offense.
Yeah.
Where's he going to have more success? Going back to Cleveland or going to a new team and not having an offseason to work with that offense and with those players? The best case scenario for Baker is for Deshaun to get suspended for the entire year so he can step back in there and kind of reestablish himself. And that's going to put the Browns in a whole nother situation.
Dude, that would be the first take stuff would be insane. I think there's competitive spirit and there's a thin line between like being ultra competitive and also being like just too prideful. We're all prideful. Yes, like we don't like being told we're not the guy, because you have to think like you're the guy to especially play y'all's position, dude. Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.